So I grew up in Southwest Iowa. I grew up my dad was a farmer and my mom trained horses. She trained all the barrel horses that we ran growing up. We just did a lot of play days and stuff at first. And then when I was 12, my sister and I, my oldest sister Jennifer and I, we wanted to start roping. So Jack and Linda Harbin, some friends and neighbors of ours, taught us to rope, and we started roping. So I thought that's really what I wanted to do. And when I got in high school, my mom took my sister's rope horse and started him on the barrels, and he was so nice. She ran him that first summer, and then she got sick and couldn't really ride as much or couldn't compete. And I was starting some high school rodeos, so she told me that she wanted me to take him and start running him. So I started running him, and we just kind of hit it off, I guess. He was that horse for me that it kind of got in my blood after that. He was a really consistent, solid horse. He placed almost everywhere we went. So that's what got me started really like craving the barrels and really wanting to run barrels. And pretty early on, my dad, like I guess right before I graduated from high school, my dad had offered at one point to buy me another horse and we would just go rodeo, like go to pro rodeos and stuff. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to buy one. I wanted to train one. I wanted to train my own. So I guess from really early in life, I wanted to be a trainer. You know, I know there's people that love to compete and there's people that love to train, and I enjoy doing both, but my favorite thing is to see these horses go through the process and progress. And I love starting with a horse that can barely lope circles to winning barrel races. There's a lot of pride in that for me. And so I guess, like I said, early on I knew it. So I bought a horse, we call him Ty, and he was, I guess, 4 when I bought him, and I was in high school, and I started him on the barrels. He was the first horse I ever trained myself on the barrels, and he was really nice. He got hurt early on though, but we still have him. Seth's, my husband's little girl Oakley, she runs him, and she's just about to outgrow him, and so our little boy Payson will start riding him soon. So that's kind of fun. Leo, the really good horse that I started running when I was in high school, he actually, he was 28 years old and he died 2 days ago. So I had to put him down, which was super sad, but he was the horse that kind of got it all started for me. So from there, after high school, I went to massage therapy school. And I was a licensed massage therapist for people for 3 years in Iowa. And I loved it, but I wanted to train horses. And it's really hard to do that in Iowa. So I moved to Oklahoma and went to work at the Judd Little Ranch. When I first started there, I just loped open horses for them. And then Jolene Stewart at the time, Montgomery now, was their futurity trainer. And she asked me to come and help her down in her barn. So I did, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. She was such a blessing to me. She taught me so much, and I learned the ropes about futurities. And before that, in Iowa, we don't even have futurities, so I didn't even know what a futurity was. I just wanted to train older horses to be barrel horses. So then she kind of got me into the futurity thing, and it just went from there. So my mom started us riding horses when we were way before I can even remember. I think she packed us around when we were babies, like in a little backpack on horseback. She just lived on a horse. So I guess I've rode my whole life. But the first horse that I remember having, his name was Fonzie. He was a little gray foundered pony, or white. I don't know what color he was for sure. But I remember him, and I just remember I rode him all over the place because he was like a babysitter. You can just ride him anywhere. He wasn't going to run off with you. And I remember the day that I decided that I needed something faster because I couldn't keep up with all the other horses when we went out and rode. And so we had this little pony named Daisy. She was a little white pony, and she wasn't broke to ride yet. I was 4 years old, and my mom, she was too little for my mom to get on, and so she saddled her up and put her 4-year-old on her. Anyway, I remember there was a grain bin in our front lot. It was just a little dry lot right in front of the barn. And Mom saddled up this horse and put me on her. And she didn't buck, I don't think, or anything, but she kind of took off around the bin and like ducked, and I fell off. And I remember crying, and Mom said, "You got to get back on," and she put me back on her. So Daisy and I went a long ways. We sold her for $650 later, which at that time was a lot of money for a pony. But I had her for years and rode the hair off of her. So those are my first 2 ponies. The best piece of advice I can tell a young upcoming trainer is to get help and get in the saddle. There's 2 things that are really, to me, the most important, and that's button the saddle time and getting help from the right people. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. Sometimes you have to pay for it because those people have been through it too, but I think it's really important. And like I said, the right help though, and I always tell people, pick someone that you look up to. Like when you watch someone ride, or maybe someone that's built similar to you, or someone that you aspire to ride like, or maybe that you do have a similar style to, because there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to win. But like for me personally, I ride the hindquarters, and I look back at videos from high school on my good horses, and that's how I rode then. That's what's natural for me. And I think just like a horse goes back to what's natural for them, we go back to what's natural for us. So if I can pick someone that has a fairly similar style to me, that I look up to, and that has good horsemanship and just good, someone that maybe wins a lot, or that I appreciate something about what they can do. That's the kind of people that I like to go to. So I always encourage people to go, watch videos, get on YouTube, do whatever, but just get help from the right people, and then spend a lot of time in the saddle, because so much of it too, getting help is good, but then there's also just trial and error and figuring out your own way a little bit too, and just getting that feel, which requires a lot of button the saddle time. So. I have been fortunate to have a lot of great influences in my career. I guess my biggest one is probably my mom. If it weren't for my mom, I probably wouldn't be running barrels today. She trained all those horses. She got me started. She is the person that put me on a horse from the time I couldn't even walk. So if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been interested in it in the first place. My mom taught me a ton. My mom has great horsemanship, great feel, great hands, great everything, and I learned all that from her. So she's been my biggest influence through my whole life, and she's always been super supportive. Her and my dad both, they have always been so mega supportive of anything I wanted to do. I had the best parents ever. They literally just anything us girls wanted to do, they backed it 110%. So, that's where it all starts. And then as far as in my futurity career, I would definitely say, Jolene was huge in that. I didn't even know what it was before her, and she was so good to me. And then Joy Wargo also has been a huge influence for me. She's really helped me a lot with horsemanship and different things through the years. So I guess those 2 girls have been really big influences for me. Kelly Conrado has also been a big influence for me. He's always so positive, and so he really has helped me kind of stay in touch with what I do. Every time he sees me doing something that's kind of out there, he's like, "What are you doing? You don't ride like that. Like, that's not the way that you ride those great horses," because sometimes it's hard when you're riding colts. Sometimes you forget what it's supposed to feel like. You forget how you're supposed to be a competitor, and you just get in this training mode and you start doing funny things. And Kelly will always be the first one to point it out to me and be like, "You need to ride like you. What are you doing out there?" And it makes me trust my training and be more confident. So I would say he's been a big influence for me too. I guess my most memorable win would be Diamonds and Dirt on KR last fling. That was huge for me. That had been a goal of mine for a long time, to win a really big futurity like that, like BFA, Diamonds and Dirt, Fort Smith, something like that. So it was a big goal met, and then I won second on Vanilla's Sudden Fame at the same futurity. So it was just, it was a dream come true for me big time. It exceeded my expectations. Those 2 mares were so special, and it was very memorable for me.